You're about to hear the story of a poor servant girl who walked into a palace full of silken lies and walked out with a secret that could have gotten her killed. This isn't a fairy tale. This is the story of a woman who saw what no one else wanted to see and spoke when every bone in her body told her to stay quiet. The Duke's name was William. He was young, rich, and so kind that people called him foolish behind his back. He inherited his title at 22 after his father died from a sudden illness. Within a year, he married a duchess named Eleanor. She was beautiful. The kind of beautiful that makes you forget to ask questions. Her family had money, her smile had charm, and her eyes had nothing but cold calculation behind them. But William didn't see that. He saw a wife who laughed at his jokes and held his hand at dinner. He saw a future. The maid's name was Clara. She was 18, orphaned, and had been working in the Duke's kitchen since she was 14. She scrubbed floors before sunrise. She carried coal up 3 flights of stairs. She ate bread so hard she had to soak it in water just to chew it. No one ever looked at her twice. The other servants ignored her. The Duchess walked past her like she was a piece of furniture. That was exactly why Clara saw everything. People talk when they think no one is listening. And in a grand house full of marble halls and velvet curtains, the person who cleans the corners hears the most dangerous words. One night, Clara was polishing silver in the small dining room. It was past midnight. The rest of the staff had gone to bed. She heard footsteps and ducked behind a heavy curtain. 2 voices entered the room. One was the Duchess. The other was a man Clara didn't recognize. He wore a doctor's coat, but something about his hands said he had never saved a life. The Duchess spoke first. Her voice was soft, like honey poured over broken glass. She said, "Are you certain it won't be traced?" The man laughed. "Nothing traces after 12 hours. It looks exactly like what killed the old Duke." Clara's heart stopped. She didn't breathe. She didn't blink. The man continued. "1 drop in his wine. He'll feel tired by morning, weak by noon, dead by dinner. No one will ever suspect poison because there won't be a single mark on his body. The doctors will call it heart failure. They always do." The Duchess smiled. Clara saw it through a gap in the curtain. That smile was the most terrifying thing she had ever seen. The Duchess said, "And what about the servants? Someone might see something." The man waved his hand. "You're the Duchess. If anyone speaks, you call them a liar. You have money. You have power. Who's going to believe a maid over you?" They left the room laughing. Clara stayed behind the curtain for another hour. Her legs had turned to water. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream. She wanted to pack her things and disappear into the night. But she didn't, because somewhere in her chest, buried under the fear, there was a tiny voice that said, "If you don't do something, no one will." That brings us to the problem. Clara had no proof, no evidence, just her 2 ears and a memory that wouldn't stop replaying every word. If she went to the Duke and said, "Your wife is trying to kill you," what do you think would happen? He would laugh. Or worse, he would get angry and have her thrown out. The Duchess would deny everything. Then Clara would be on the street with nothing but a warning that no one believed. If she went to the other servants, they would call her crazy. Some of them had worked in that house for 30 years. Who was this kitchen girl to accuse the lady of the house? If she did nothing, the Duke would be dead within a week. And the Duchess would inherit everything. The palace, the money, the land, all of it. Clara had 3 choices. Run, tell someone, or stay quiet. 2 of those ended with the Duke dead. 1 of them ended with her possibly dead. But she made a 4th choice. She decided to watch, to wait, and to catch the Duchess in the act. For the next 3 days, Clara barely slept. She watched the kitchen like a hawk. She watched the wine cellar. She watched the servants who served the Duke's meals. The Duchess was smart. She didn't do anything obvious. But on the 4th day, Clara noticed something strange. The Duchess personally poured the Duke's evening wine every night. She would take the bottle from the cellar, carry it up to the dining room, and pour it herself. That wasn't normal. Most duchesses have servants for that. But Eleanor insisted. She said it was her little act of love for her husband. Clara knew better. She found a way to get into the cellar before the Duchess arrived. She hid behind a stack of barrels. And she watched. The Duchess came down alone. She looked around to make sure no one was there. Then she pulled a small glass bottle from her sleeve. The liquid inside was clear. Like water. Like nothing. She uncorked it and poured a few drops into the open wine bottle. Then she shook it gently, put the small bottle back in her sleeve, and walked upstairs with a smile. Clara had seen it. Now she had to stop it. But how? She was a nobody. If she barged into the dining room and yelled poison, the guards would drag her out before she could finish the word. She needed a plan. And she needed it fast because the Duke was already sitting at the table, hungry and tired, ready for his evening meal. This is where the story turns. Clara ran to the kitchen and grabbed the biggest, heaviest metal tray she could find. Then she ran to the dining room doors. 2 guards stood outside. They looked at her like she was a rat. One of them said, "Get back to the kitchen, girl." Clara didn't listen. She took a deep breath, and she slammed the metal tray against the stone wall. The sound was deafening, like a church bell ringing inside a closet. Every head in the dining room turned. The Duke looked up from his wine glass. The Duchess froze with her hand still on the bottle. And Clara screamed. She didn't say, "Excuse me." She didn't say, "I'm sorry to interrupt." She yelled the only words that mattered. "Don't drink, Your Grace. The wine is poisoned." Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. The Duke's face went pale. The Duchess's face went red. The guards drew their swords. For a second, no one moved. Then the Duchess laughed. It was a fake laugh. A nervous laugh that tried to sound calm. She said, "This girl is clearly mad. She's been working too hard. Guards, remove her." But the Duke held up his hand. He looked at Clara. He looked at the wine. He looked at his wife. And he said, "Wait." He picked up the glass. He smelled it. Nothing. He swirled it. Nothing. He said to Clara, "Why do you say this is poisoned?" Clara's voice was shaking now. The adrenaline was wearing off. But she spoke loud and clear. She told him everything. The midnight conversation. The doctor. The small glass bottle. The drops she saw in the cellar. Every detail. The Duke listened without interrupting. The Duchess interrupted a lot. She called Clara a liar. She said the girl was trying to ruin her. She even cried. Real tears? Fake tears? Who knows? But she was good at crying. The Duke didn't buy it. He ordered the guards to search his wife's room. They found the small glass bottle hidden inside a jewelry box. The liquid was tested on a mouse. The mouse was dead within an hour. The doctor was arrested 2 towns over trying to flee the country. Under questioning, he confessed everything. The Duchess had poisoned the old Duke too. The same poison. The same method. She had been planning this for years. Clara saved the Duke's life. But she didn't get a parade. She didn't get a medal. She got something better. The Duke gave her a small house at the edge of his land and enough money to live. Without scrubbing floors. She never had to carry coal again. The Duchess was stripped of her title and spent the rest of her life in a remote prison. And the Duke? He never remarried. He said he would rather be alone than trust the wrong person again. Now here's what most people don't think about. Clara could have stayed hidden behind that curtain. She could have pretended she didn't hear anything. She could have told herself it wasn't her problem. But she didn't. And that's the difference between someone who watches history and someone who changes it. She had nothing. No power. No family. No safety net. And she still chose to scream. So what's the takeaway here? It's simple. You don't need to be rich to be brave. You don't need a title to speak the truth. Sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one nobody's looking at. The one holding the tray. The one cleaning the floors. The one who sees everything because everyone else is too busy looking up. If this story taught me anything, it's that silence is comfortable. But comfort never saved anyone.